Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you all the books that I ended up reading in the month of September. September was a kind of crazy month for me. I was planning a conference, so that was like really stressful, and we had it kind of the third week of September, and then I had my hand surgery. For those of you who don't know, I had a benign bone tumor, and so they had to take it out. So I'm going to be stuck in this for 2 weeks. I cannot use this hand. I'm only allowed to wiggle it, so yeah, life is going to be interesting, but I do have a vlog coming out kind of documenting that experience in the first couple days post-op, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But I also will be doing Vlogtober as well, so you'll kind of see me kind of getting out of this, and just because it does take 6 to 12 weeks to heal, so I will be brand new by Christmas time. So yeah, life has been a little bit interesting right now, and I do apologize for the bad lighting because I can't really use this hand. I'm not allowed to honestly do anything. I can't set up my lights, so we just kind of have to deal with the lighting that is already in my room, and I don't get natural sunlight in this room just based on where the windows are, so we're just gonna have to deal with the bad lighting in these next few videos. But besides all the major life things that happened this month, I did end up reading 4 books, which I'm pretty proud about because, like I said, it was a very intense month. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So starting out, I first have The Madness of Crowds by Louise, and this is probably one of my most anticipated books of this year, and it's the newest installment in the Inspector Gamache series. And you guys are probably sick of me talking about this, but I marathoned this series throughout the course of the pandemic, and so I really have grown to love all these characters in the world that this author has created. So I was super excited to kind of be back with these characters again, and I think the author did a really good job with this one. So essentially it takes place in a post-COVID world, and basically after everyone has been vaccinated, it's okay to basically, see people again without the fear of getting COVID, because everyone decided to get the vaccine, which I feel is like a utopian, wishful thinking, fantasy world. But it was nice to kind of be in something where it's okay, yeah, I want to be in that kind of world again. And it follows this woman who is kind of going around. She was recruited by the Canadian government to look at the economic impact of COVID-19 in Canada, and so she ended up making a report, and the Canadian government refused to publish it. But basically her argument was that we can get through the economic crisis of something like a pandemic if we basically euthanize all the elderly people or people with disabilities that are a burden to kind of our society, which I thought was very interesting. And just the kind of dialogue is very similar to kind of what's been going on now and kind of all that, and I felt like the author handled it in a very good way. But there is obviously a murder that takes place, and it kind of goes off from there. But I really liked it. I know I read the author's note afterwards, and she said she started writing this book in March 2020, and she initially didn't want to include the pandemic in this next installment, but kind of as she got further along, and as the pandemic kind of, as we're still in it, basically was you can't exclude this from our world narrative. And so I like how she kind of did it as a post-COVID thing, which I thought was interesting. That was the first book that I've read that's kind of dealt with our current situation, the current events of the pandemic, which I thought was really interesting. But again, also this raises really good topics. Obviously she's not for the killing of that, but I think it's interesting because that dialogue has been kind of brought around, and I felt like she handled that in a very interesting way, and kind of showing that thinking everyone has a life that's worth living and no one is a burden to society. And I think that was really interesting. And again, I loved the characters being back in this world, was just so good. So obviously I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This series just gets better and better, and I'm I just have to wait a year for the next one to come out, but it gives me something to look forward to. So next up, I continued on with my Grisha trilogy reread, and so I ended up picking up Siege and Storm, which is the second book you guys probably already know. And I remembered the first book pretty well, and it was kind of like after this that I wasn't so sure, but I did remember bits and pieces. And I will say, throughout this reread, my ratings have gone down. I think I was a little bit more generous with my star ratings, but yeah, I've kind of brought them back to kind of my current kind of rating system, not my early days where everyone was getting like 4 or 5 stars. Sorry, I'm moving over here because it's easier to show you the books. But yeah, this is probably still my favorite of the series. I think this again held up to kind of my expectations. Originally I gave this a 5 stars, but I bumped it down to 3.5 stars because although this one is my favorite and I do love the introduction of Nikolai into this, not a lot happens in like the middle half of the book, like literally nothing. And I was like, the pacing of this is still very kind of off, where the beginning was really exciting and the end was really exciting, but literally within like the 250 pages in the middle, like nothing really happens. And that is like a common complaint that I've had throughout this trilogy as well. So yeah, like I said, it was a good refresher because I will be reading these with my friends, and so I was reading ahead just to kind of get the notes ready, and I knew September was going to be a little bit crazy, especially with this thing. So yeah, so that is it. But yeah, this one is my favorite of the series. Like I said, I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then next up, I ended up picking up Ruin of Rising, which is the last book in the Grisha trilogy, and I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Like I said, a lot of the kind of comments and everything that I had with this series overall, again, like I feel like not a lot happens, and you know, that's okay. And I feel like it was like, I did enjoy the ending. Like the ending was fun and exciting and kind of everything that happened, but still, and I do really like the epilogue, epilogue, but yeah, other than that, like again, not a lot happens, and that is a little bit boring, like because there were some exciting parts in here, but it was still kind of pretty boring. And again, 3 stars, like it's still pretty good. Like I think this one would, like I feel like this trilogy is a good introduction to fantasy if you're getting, you know, just starting out, because I think it has a lot of, it kind of uses a lot of tropes that are common in fantasy, but it does so in a way that I think is very like universally kind of people can grasp very early on, which I think is a little bit better. But yeah, this one, like I said, I do enjoy this one, this trilogy, not as much as I did the first time around, but it's still pretty good. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I might like the TV show more than the books. I haven't seen the TV show yet. Me and my friend are gonna watch it together, but yeah, I feel like I might enjoy the TV show a little bit more because it kind of, from what I've heard, it like kind of makes the book a little bit better. Like it kind of fixes some of the things that weren't, you know, that good in the book and kind of expands upon it and makes it a little bit better. So we'll see. And lastly, I have Six of Crows, which is again another book that I've read. And fun fact, I did not really like this one when I first read it, when I like first came out, I want to say like 2015, around that time, and I didn't really like it that much. And so originally I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, and although I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars on my reread, a lot of the problems that I had the first time around I still kind of seen with today. But this is like a spin-off series following a ragtag team of kind of, you know, of like thieves and all these people that are kind of thrown together to kind of go on a task to kind of, you know, like basically they're gonna go on a heist. Basically, I don't want to spoil anything. I feel like you guys know basically what this is, but because they kind of integrate like a prequel of these characters in the TV shows, I wanted to kind of at least have like a refresher on it. And again, like I said, I did not like this one when I read it the first time around, and I think it's because I was out of the Grisha world for a while, so a lot of like the kind of lingo that they use in terms of describing the different Grisha, I just like didn't remember, which that was on me really. But again, a lot of the problems that I had were in regards to the kind of character development, not necessarily, so like you'd get a chapters were told from different characters' points of view, but I felt like the plot was very disjointed. It was very stop and go, and I think it's because you'd kind of get some plot progression and then you'd get the entire like 3/4 of the chapter based on some character's background, which I don't really like. I feel like it takes away from it because it's like the plot took so long to progress, because you'd get like maybe like 5 pages of plot progression and then, you know, 15 pages of character background information, and then you'd get some plot, and it's like I don't even remember where we are in the overall plot because we're getting all this character development. And yeah, I definitely think that is why I didn't like it the first time around, and I did kind of appreciate the characters a little bit more the second time around, and I did remember what happened. But again, like I said, I felt like the plot was very disjointed, and I feel like there are other authors that do a good job of kind of doing kind of the integration of past and present storylines in a way that it doesn't feel like it kind of continues the plot with like these different kind of timelines. And Kate Morton's really good as an author who's very good at kind of integrating those two different storylines but making the plot progress, even though we're kind of dealing with different eras and all these things are in the past. But I feel like Leigh Bardugo kind of struggled with that, and I know this book is really well loved, so I feel kind of really bad saying that. But I am reading, I'm like about 50 pages into Crooked Kingdom, and she hasn't really done a lot of that stuff, so I think I'm gonna like Crooked Kingdom a little bit better. But that was like my one big complaint in here, was that there was just like all this character background information that's kind of like thrown at you, and it kind of takes away from the overall plot of this book, if that makes sense. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what books you read this month and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.